How do I sound? Okay. One of the things we had to do before we could tackle the Ghostlight project in class was we had to figure out what transmedia was to begin with. I don't think I was getting the full grasp and understanding of what it was. Looking back on the project now, I would say that if I was going to talk about what transmedia is, I'd go with something more along the lines of Sonic the Hedgehog or something like that. I felt that what I chose for my transmedia presentation was slightly inadequate. What Ghostlight does is all the characters in the play Ghostlight, something to note about them is they're all dead. How did they get there? We don't actually know. There was a lot that we had open to us in terms of what we could do for a transmedia project. The directions of the project were simple. Through the use of either other videos, graphic art, music videos, internet web pages, we had to continue the story of the Ghostlight characters. Pick a character or a series of characters and talk about them. How did the puppet get created? What's the backstory behind Media Man? How did Toady die? What was the deal with Fallen's evil twin? My project then that I chose to pick was I did a graphic novel of Toady. My project served to tackle Toady, her backstory with the rape, and I wanted to answer definitively. We had a lot of collaboration on this project between our Video 2 class and the multimedia class with Ed Lingen. But a lot of people kept asking, was Toady raped? And that sparked my idea. I did the manga as a backstory, but I did it as Toady was dying. The reason why it's called Toady's Beautiful Dream is because she is reflecting on certain events in her life as she is laying on the bathroom floor dying. One person's project that I had to work hand in hand with was Kelly McGuire's team. They were doing a segment where Toady's body basically gets discovered in her apartment. I had to make sure that the details of my manga also fit the details of what she described in her video. There was a lot of teamwork that had to be involved in this, even though each project was individual. If any one of us was to screw up our projects and contradict each other's storylines, it would just it'd make a mess of things, basically. It would add way too much confusion. I'm going to say that I really don't like how it turned out. I had about 3 weeks' time after the whole collaborative process to get the manga drawn out fully. And I knew that I was looking at anywhere from 20 to 30 pages depending on how much detail I put in or how long or short the story had to be. With manga, there's a 4-step process. You do the lightly colored sketches first, then you darken in the lines that you want to keep, then you start to add the shading and the shadows, and then finally you color it. With the manga as it is done now, only 2 steps have been done. That is the light sketching and the initial inking in. Now in Toady's Beautiful Dream, her stepbrother finds her years later after a therapist visit. They exchange a little bit of banter, and then she punches him. Then she runs back to her apartment, and he's persistent. I make it so that way I want Toady's stepbrother to seem desperate. Reflecting on all the things that happened that he did to Toady, he's going to find that he has these raging hormones, I guess you could call it. And this is leading him to wanting to get back with Toady, possible relationship, whatever. He wants to heal the past. The viewer is left to draw conclusions as to whether or not his motives are more sinister than what they actually appear. He intrudes on Toady's apartment, Toady wants him out, and as a result, the two have an exchange. Stepbrother gets frustrated with Toady, refuses to leave, and ultimately kills her in the process, and then walks out with the evidence. One of the reasons why I'm dissatisfied with the manga, though, is because of having such a short time frame. In all reality, if you want to do a really good manga, it can't be put out as fast as I put it. In reality, I only spent between 1 and 2 hours a page, from basic detail to just basic inking. I didn't do any shadows, any coloring, nothing. I basically made the manga presentable, legible. So, and I did hear a lot of positive feedback about it. But when it came to the manga, in reality, if I wanted it to look as good as it could have looked, I would have spent about 4 hours a page or more. And I'm not just talking about one page of manga because I have them linked together. I mean one page of manga, as in only half of what you see up on the wall. You see the pages all put together. Half the page would take me about 4 hours. I've heard a lot of opinions that say the manga itself is kind of dark. So I did manage to get the impression across that I wanted. I'm just a little obsessive compulsive over detail. The overall experience that I had with Ghostlight, I'd have to say, was a positive one. I wasn't just involved in the class and the creation of the projections and the creation of the manga. I also took part in the show itself. I was the live media mixer. I basically took a camera and pointed it at the puppet to make him the all-seeing figure of the show. The one thing I realized from this show is that it required a lot of adaptation. We didn't just center around a single idea. We were always changing things right up until the very end. And realistically, in the real world, a lot of productions might actually be like that. It sucks, and it seems very disorganized, and in fact, it kind of is. But when you finally hit the nail on the head and you get where you need to be, it makes the production that much sweeter. So we did have a lot of technical issues, but we were able to overcome them. And if I had to go through this experience again, I'd say, yeah, I would. But there's a few different things that I would change differently. Namely, I would give myself more time to work on the manga, and I would perfect my techniques with such online programs as Isadora or Hippo Software, even if they weren't used. I learned a lot this semester from my experiences. So